Welcome to Aging Better in Uncertain Times. I'm Gord Martineau in studio alongside Dr. Fabio Varlese. Here we help you keep informed and up to date on the latest in science, medicine, and technology that helps us all age better in these uncertain times.
The idea that you are living a meaningless, purposeless life is anathema to us. We can't comprehend that any more than we can comprehend our own demise. We need to feel significant, at least to one other person, to life itself. The absence of significance is a destructive sensation in us. Even someone saying, "Can you just help me? Can you just sit with me?" is enough to give someone a feeling of purpose. We have to have it. It's a grace lifeline.
Today we're talking life purpose and spirituality with Caroline Myss, 5-time New York Times bestselling author of Anatomy of the Spirit and Why People Don't Heal and How They Can. Thanks for joining us on our weekly guide into living a healthier, better life so we can all experience aging better in these uncertain times. Throughout this series, we're going to examine the best ways to prepare ourselves for the future. So what's the best advice for our overall health? We're going to look at every aspect affecting your life, and that means physical, mental, financial, nutritional, and medical. We'll cover all the bases. To do that, we're supplying you with high-value information from the leading experts in each field, and by that I don't mean just everyday opinions. We're going to be introducing you to the leading experts in each field, men and women who've studied, worked, and who teach at the highest levels. You have questions, we have the answers. Joining me in the studio, Dr. Fabio Varlese, a specialist in internal medicine and geriatric medicine. He's the Vice President of Medical Affairs and Chief of Staff at Runnymede Hospital, Staff Specialist at Baycrest Health Sciences, and Dr. Varlese is also the Assistant Professor at the University of Toronto. So, Dr. Varlese, this is an interesting topic we're getting into now. We're going to be speaking with Caroline Myss, and we'll introduce you, Caroline, in just a moment. But first, spirits and life health. Very important, something that a lot of people don't consider is the spiritual life and the healthy life.
That's incredible. I'm so excited about having Caroline Myss on the program because I think there's going to be a lot that we're going to learn. But also science is appreciating that religion and spirituality does correlate with physical and mental health. Experts may not know whether it's simply participating in organized religions or spirituality that contributes to health, or whether, simply physically or, psychologically healthier people are simply attracted to religion or spirituality. But in general, spiritual people, do have more positive and hopeful attitudes about life and illness. With that comes a sense of meaning and purpose in life, and they have greater ability to even sometimes cope with illness and disability. And spirituality also leads to increased social interaction, and that we know that those factors do contribute to better health. And many times there's also healthy practices that people that are religious or spiritual tend to entertain, like the Seventh-day Adventists in Loma Linda, California, for example. Yeah. It's one of the blue zones, for example, and, diet is important, sense of community and contribution is very, very important, and they live longer lives.
Okay, let's bring in Caroline Myss. She's a 5-time New York Times best-selling author and an internationally renowned speaker on the issue of human consciousness, spirituality, and mysticism, health, energy medicine, and the science of medical intuition. This is something, Caroline, first of all, thanks for being with us today, something that a lot of people would consider, quote unquote, out there. So what is spirituality and medical intuition? Please explain what those mean.
It means that I directed my intuitive skills to work specifically in the medical field.
And how do you do that?
And I worked with the doctors.
Yeah.
I worked with specifically Norm Shealy, who's a Harvard brain surgeon. And he was fascinated. Otherwise, I would have let this skill of mine just go sit in the back burner because I really wanted to be a great novelist, but I have no talent for it. And I have a genius for something I have no interest in. But He was interested in it.
Well, because it's not every day. You have to consider that a lot of people, like when you explained how you do this, were people initially resistant to what you were saying? They were saying, she didn't know what she's talking about, or,
You know what? They weren't. And I think that it's because I'm a very grounded person. I'm educated. My background's in mystical theology, journalism, military history. And Norm and I did not set about trying to say that if you have energetic data, you throw out the traditional medical data. You use them both. You need everything from your physical anatomy and your energetic anatomy, and they work as a team. You need your energetic as well as your physical.
What's your reaction, Dr. Verlace, to what Caroline is saying?
Well, if I had to speak for the medical community, we would be very, very cautious. But I think that medicine is starting to appreciate it, as Carolyn pointed out. It's going to take a while for the medical community. Like, our tendency is to utilize, very, very sound ways of assessing whether something works or doesn't work. And we're very sort of, I would use the word Newtonian in that process. Very, we utilize a scientific method to establish whether an approach or something, a phenomena, has an absolute impact on reality. Mm-hmm. But I happen to be somebody who appreciates this particular podcast and appreciates Carolyn being on, because she's amazing, and she has worked with people like Dr. Norman Shealy, who's Harvard trained, and I believe you also had some work done with the Mayo Group in the United States. Is that correct?
With the Menninger Clinic.
Okay.
And yes, I have, and I've worked, with a number of physicians at various times who have called me in on their patients for consultations. I've done this for 35 years, going on 30. So I did that because I became so attuned to Norm that for my own credibility, I thought I have to work with other doctors. I have to see if my skill is as good with other physicians as it is with him. And so I sought out other doctors to work with for my own credibility.
So, Caroline, the term life purpose is entering into the conversation when I look into to what you do and how you speak to people. Why is it important today, more so than ever before, to have a life purpose?
Well, I think that without a sense of connection to, here's a deep prayer. Lord, take me down deep and show me the reason for which you gave me life. Mm-hmm. You gave me life. What am I doing here? There isn't a person I have met ever, Gordon, ever, no matter where I've taught, who hasn't asked the question, for what reason have I been born? Mm-hmm. What am I doing here? The idea that you are living a meaningless, purposeless life is anathema to us. We can't comprehend that any more than we can comprehend our own demise. We need to feel significant, at least to one other person, to life itself. The absence of significance is a destructive sensation in us. We even someone saying, can you just help me? Can you just sit with me? Is enough to give someone a feeling of purpose. We have to have it. It's a grace lifeline.
But we do doubt ourselves, thinking maybe, this life purpose, or maybe I don't even have a purpose on this planet. What do you say to people who are self-doubters?
Well, first of all, I examine, what do you think purpose is? What are you looking at? And how many people have decided purpose? They measure it by expectations and by what they expect people to, how the response they want. They measure it by security. They measure it by occupation. They think they were born, that the whole purpose of the human journey is for a job, Mm-hmm. And so the first place you have to go is to redefine how you understand the purpose of the journey of life. And it shifts from some point. You have to re-examine that you weren't born to do something, but how to serve others, how to make life a better place for everybody, including yourself, and how that each day there is something in you that can help another person, that you have to redefine purpose to even include how well you can serve a meal to another person and what that does for them.
So I've had conversations with people because I'm actively involved with a number of charities. One of them being called a charity called the Herbie Fund. It supplies life-saving surgery for third world children who will die unless they get the surgery. And in my conversations with people, I said, because I believe that we're here not just for ourselves. There must be another reason why we're here. This isn't just me. We're all interconnected. And some people go, gee, I never thought of that. And, so would that be a life purpose that I have?
Do you think so?
I do.
Precisely, that is part of it, not a life purpose. It is an expression of the whole purpose. It is, your purpose expresses itself in many, many ways, and that is one among the many ways.
So some people will say, well, you know what? I went to school, I went to university, I got my degree, I got a job, I got married, bought a house, had some kids. Is this it? Do people ever come to you with saying?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah. So there's not much of an agenda as far as they're concerned?
But you see, there are some people that think God is an off-planet man too. And at some point, these very archaic narratives that we have in our head have to be examined. There is no off-planet man that's a god, Gordon. At some point, that mythology is going to come tumbling down as it is now. And that idea that the life purpose is simply to go to college and have a couple of kids in a house, is that really a life purpose? Because if it is, then a lot of people are not living a life purpose. It is the purpose of life is to experience acts of co-creation and to discover how incredibly empowered we actually are. And that every word we say, every thought we have is an act of co-creation. And that we're attached to that. And so we begin this journey of becoming very conscious of how powerful every word we say really is. We
live in a time, Caroline, of chaos. When you think of COVID-19, what it has done to the planet, how it's upended almost everything we do and what we know. Chaos is a stress factor. So how do you tell people to deal with chaos and stress patterns that they have in their lives?
Well, I'm going to back up, Gordon, and I'm going to say that prior to COVID, the chaos was mounting in the psychic field more than you realize. It was mounting with climate change. We were anticipating some kind of nuclear war. We were always in chaos, Gordon. We were never not in chaos.
So we've been building to this point where we're experiencing? I see.
Well, we were building with political fury, with politics of division and all kinds of things around the world. And then comes COVID. And what COVID was this kind of global explosion, as if a dark blister was lanced. And yet from it comes a message that says all of you have to collectively heal. All of you. Mm-hmm. The disease is not political. It is not rupturing us with bombs. And yet it is having the same effect that a collective war would have. It is shifting our economy. It is causing everybody to change their lifestyles. It is causing a breakdown and shutdown of the planet. Same thing a war would do.
Yep.
Same thing a huge nuclear war would do, except without the fallout.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to this, how are people always talking, I want my space, I need this. And now people have their space and they're finding out that it's really horrible to be without others. In the meantime, we are adjusting, and human creativity is coming out and realizing we don't have to pollute the air to go from here to here. We can enter into a solar economy. We don't need as much oil. This transition into the age of solar consciousness is being thrust upon us through this virus. You wait and see.
When you discuss, the things that you believe in and life purpose and spirituality, etc., do you find that is at cross purposes with conventional medicine, or is there a path you both can follow?
I'm not at cross purposes with conventional medicine. Except when a medical doctor, the medical world refuses to acknowledge the impact that stress and fear and dishonesty, lying, being in league with darkness has on health. And I've never seen anyone do that. I've never seen a doctor say, are you a liar? Because that's like bad for your health. Are you someone who steals and does things like that? Because that's like really bad for your blood pressure.
So these things manifest themselves in
totally
in
biographies, biology, totally.
Right.
If I told you to dwell in fear, if I put a gun to your head, I don't have to shoot it, but you are sure going to start changing your physiology, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to sit there as if you're as calm and on a beach. Don't be ridiculous.
These things, your point is that these things are a self-imposition of stress. So we're loading up on stress because of the way we live, right?
Because of choices we make.
Correct.
Because of the narratives we tell ourselves, because of things we have come to believe or not to believe anymore, because of how we've decided, there is no evil, there's only good. I don't want any evil because I want to be able to do whatever I want in the world. I don't believe there's an afterlife, but I sure love past lives because they're fun to talk about. And it's the way people have redesigned the cosmos to suit their lives.
Dr. Varlesi, you have conversations with your patients. Do you ever get into the issue of spirituality and how that might affect someone's health?
I actually do. Because as mentioned before, we're starting to appreciate, even in medical sciences, how spirituality, and by that I mean, we have to have some sort of definition, like the ability of a person to connect with their true self. And it's that relationship with your true self and the world at large and the universe at large. And, we live in a society that is so focused on the external, on the material, on what's out there. Mm-hmm. I'm stressed because I got into an accident or whatever. But truly, it's spirituality, even as we study it in medical sciences, because we do know that there is a connection, a positive one, to a person's health. We start understanding the big word is stress, but behind stress are a series of, factors. What brings on stress? It could be that a person is lacking that inner personal balance, and I'm so happy to see that even during COVID, our own university, our faculty of medicine has been focusing on the stress in first responders, in doctors, for example, and we're starting to talk about mindfulness practices, meditation, and these are techniques that help us turn within, and that's how you turn off the switch of stress. And then, obviously, the sense of contribution. If we look at the blue zones around the world, one of the determinants of health healthy aging and longevity is the sense of contribution, being connected with your community, contributing to your community. So, you're acting from a place of true balance, and you're giving. This giving is connected to better health.
I think that this is the beginning of multiple viruses, Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple.
Yeah, there'll be another one, won't there?
And so I think it's going to be a very long journey through this, a long journey, and that we are in for a decade of adjusting our lifestyles, and adjusting our lifestyles to becoming, but here's the thing, more conscious of each other and more conscious of how we are living together.
Caroline Myss, 5-time New York Times best-selling author. Look her up. Her stuff is great. Some final thoughts now with Dr. Varlese's prescription to aging better. I think a lot of people believe, and we saw a reassertion of that today, Doctor, that there is a direct link between health and spirituality.
I really think so. What a great podcast today. I just enjoyed every bit of it. And as science, starts really showing evidence of how spirituality, and whether it's in the context of your own religion or just spirituality at large, there's no doubt that there's a direct impact on a person's physical and mental health. But what we also saw was that sense of purpose. Why am I here? How do I define this life? We're here for.
What am I doing here?
What am I doing here?
Yeah.
And when we look at the aging factor, the prevention of disease and living long and well, we do have examples around the world where communities living long and well are focused on the sense of contribution, a sense of being connected with your own community, and of giving back, of not just being about me, and of not just accumulating material things, but really.
Because the more we acquire material things, the less happy we are. Like we're just.
It's been proven.
We keep looking for more and more and more.
That's why this discussion today is very important.
And as we wrap up today, please, folks, get a flu shot. The information is at myflushot.ca. Questions about aging better can be emailed to info@agingbetter.ca or by visiting our website at agingbetter.ca. Aging Better in Uncertain Times, brought to you by Runnymede Health, Jewel 88.5, L'Oreal, La Roche-Posay, Vichy, Avicana, and Sanofi Pasteur, in part through an educational grant. Be sure to drop in for your next doctor's visit on Jewel 88.5, Sundays at 8:30 a.m. or at jewel885.com. Until next time, I'm Gord Martineau with Dr. Fabio Varlese, along with producers Dominic Schulo and David Sursta. Be well and stay safe.